me, right? Good morning and welcome to Dawn Patrol on City Life. I guess it's my turn. I drew the short straw to host today. I'm Sean McDonough. I'm on the City Council. We also have Bob Hoey and Cisco Maldonado. Rich Cowan is joining us at 6 o'clock. It's 6:04.
Good morning, Counselor. Good morning. I am so excited to be here this morning, especially you as host. We're going to have some great topics today.
Oh, boy.
I hope people are up. What's the weather going to be? It's going to be nice and cool. I have no idea. It's going to be a golf day, so I'm excited about that.
I haven't heard the radio station that wasn't on yet, so I haven't heard Al Caprellian from his the closet yelling about the wetter yet.
Yeah. I got to.
No, they weren't on. They lights were off this morning, so I don't know what's going on over there.
Maybe the city finally took your general.
Maybe they finally took the 43. Yeah.
They're working on it.
Do you know a Mrs. McDonough at the high school?
I'm married to her.
She works at the high school?
There's two. I'm only married to one of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one.
I'm glad you figured that out.
The one I wanted to say something about worked with the After Dark program, but she was from, I think, special ed at Little High School. No? Well,
yeah, I know who you're talking about. That's not my wife.
But that lady wrote a beautiful congratulations card to my grandson, and
you're still
I can't say
on the After Dark program.
Well, it's just kids need that too.
So explain the After Dark program, so in case we have people out there that don't know about it.
You know, I came in here. I'm telling you, I walked in this door. I never felt better. I said, "All right, I seen your car out there. I seen your trucks. I said, oh, this is gonna be beautiful." Then I come in and one of my favorite people took me right down. Yeah, I won't say what he said, but I'll tell you, it took me right back down. But look at what I want him to see what I'm wearing. See the shirt? All right? Tewksbury, that's what I love about Sean. We're surrounded by Tewksbury, Borica, Chelmsford, Drake, all good towns. They really are. Yeah. If you go down into Boston, which I used to spend a lot of time there, Roxbury and Dorchester and Mattapan and Hyde Park, forget the rest of Boston. They're killing each other down there. You know that as well as I do. It's terrible. But I'll say this. This morning when I seen your car here, you wake me right up in the morning. It's unbelievable. But what a job you've done. How long you been there? 7 months?
Coming up on that, yeah.
Yeah.
I got my towards the end of last week. What's today's date? 5 days ago. 5 days ago, I got my 1 year anniversary reminder from Facebook. Today's the 16th. June 11th. I said, how long have I been doing this? I mean, I won the election, so 7 months. But June 11th is when I created the Facebook page. So it's got to be right around then that I said, I'm actually going to run for something. Yeah, so it hasn't been very long.
You're an asset to the city council, without a doubt. You did just a great job. And don't worry about everything you say. Sometimes you'll say something, say, oh, here we go. I'm going to get it now.
Oh, yeah.
No, don't be that way. You say what you want to say. That's what listen, you know what John McDonough taught me on his show, or his podcast, I call it. He taught me, say what you want to say, but watch out about the vulgar words. You got to be careful. That's all.
I don't think I had a single one teacher in all my years of school. I don't think anyone ever would have said, yeah, I think one day McDonough's going to learn when to shut his mouth, because it was pretty obvious it was never going to happen.
Yeah, that's okay. And this guy right here, Cisco and Jose, especially when you hook up with that
Aaron
Gendron, yeah. I like the Gendron family. That's why I wanted to bring it up. But
Steve
I think
Gendron, her husband's very nice.
I don't listen to WCAP at all. Okay,
That's
I don't read the Little Sun at all. But I can say this about WCAP. Jose and you've been putting it on Facebook.
Yes. All right.
So that's huge.
That's a better idea.
No, it's definitely
huge.
a good time.
So
better connection with the community out there.
When I just got done, well, I'm on computer, not TV. My wife won't kill me. But Wednesday I had this procedure done in my legs, and they put 3 stents, they call them, like they put in my major artery too, So I got 4 of them. And I just got one more procedure to go through that I think I'll be not 100%, but I'll be about 80%. which I'm even lucky to be alive. But
You're the bionic man.
well, no, it's what we have.
No,
oh my God,
we're lucky
these
to
people.
be up here in Massachusetts.
Listen, in an office with one, what was it? I think it was a Valium they give you to kind of relax you. And then they go in the same way they went in with the tubes down here in the ECMO machine, and they're in my veins. They're down in my veins putting these metal stents in it. It's unbelievable what they can do. And I'm in the office. You just can't move for 2 hours. But it's incredible. And this is a Lowell doctor. I don't know, I'll ask him before I say his name, but he was tremendous. Oh, my God. Right on Westford Street in someone's office, Sean. That type of procedure. It clean as a whistle, and it's the Lowell General vein. I call it the vein, doctor.
You weren't in back central, were you?
No, incredible. That's all I'll say. I mean,
Hey, I go to a doctor at best.
yeah. And then I'm going to be missing a few weeks coming up, and that will be the end of July, first week of August, maybe a couple of weeks, because I got that last procedure, which is... Okay, cool.
We're taking August
So you
off.
won't
Good.
miss me.
That's
But
awesome.
that's the last thing I have to do, and I'm more scared about what's coming up because it's about fixing my neck. I don't know what it's called, and my spine, and that's terrible.
I'm impressed you guys are taking. This is unrelated. I'm impressed you guys. You're taking August off, and
Yeah.
we're gonna leave in July and come back in September, and we're gonna know who we have 3 state representatives decided while we're on vacation.
Hey, let's
That's
talk
awesome.
about that. Let's
But
talk
it's
about
funny
that.
because I'm going to take 10 days off in August, and I'll be in Puerto Rico with Diego.
Nice.
Someday.
These elections are not getting heated as much as I'd like to see. I mean,
I would, if we can. You
Go
mind?
ahead.
I'll start talking about the elections because that's was on my mind coming in. I'm a Lowell guy, and I follow everything. I try to follow everything. And I think the person up in the Highlands, I'm not from the Highlands, what was it, Tara Hung?
yes,
Hung.
young kid.
He probably looks like an underdog in a lot of people's eyes because he's running against our ex-mayor in a city council. But I'll give you a prediction, and I'm not from his district. Tara Hung, he's going to win again. In my district, that's the big race. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But then I can't vote for Corey Robinson. If I could, I'd be voting for him, and I hope my friends all vote for him. He done a great job on the city council, just like you did. And the last election, I'm sorry, and I know you might not like this, but I got to vote for a governor, Mike Minot. That's how you say his last name. And then I want the guy Joe Espinola from Lowell. He'll have a hard time without a doubt because he's independent. Sorry, I'm talking like this, Joe, but if you were ever a Democrat, buddy, you'd beat her easy. But hey, do what you do. Maybe an independent can finally win. I don't know about that, Sean, you know?
I don't. Have
But
a
my
faith in
district, my district, what a race that is. There's a young man named Leet, I believe you
that.
pronounce
Anthony
it.
Lee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can I stop you guys for a question?
Yeah.
Because I heard this term the other day on Teddy Panel. What purple? When they say a state's turning purple, what does that mean?
Well, like in the middle, there's more
can't make up their
Republicans than ever. But you don't in this state. Remember, it's
Okay,
a blue
all right.
D,
All right.
large.
Who's saying
Yeah.
purple?
But
Up in New Hampshire.
But my neighborhood, John Drinkwater, I haven't decided who I'm voting for yet because it's that close to me. And the reasons being is they're going to go hit our retirement fund for like $100 million. This is what the governor says.
Oh, yeah,
So
no.
John Drinkwater, okay, I don't know if you remember his election, but at the last minute, he had every union you could ever think about driving through Lowell with trucks and flags. He won like a champ right at the end. That's how I felt about John Drinkwater. And he's very close, and I hope our friend Jeff Thomas, if you're out there, I'd like to know who you want in that race, but I'm undecided right now because my family all wants Lee. I think I'm pronouncing the young man's name right. But there's something about Drinkwater for me too. Drinkwater's a good candidate. I hope we can get him on the show, John.
I like Harini. Good luck.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna say. So I promised I wouldn't do this, and here I go. I'm gonna say, here's your problem: is gonna be getting, without mentioning any state rep by name or any candidate by name. I'm gonna try and see if I can pull this off. I think that you want to make sure. For me, it's about voting for someone who actually can show up, go to community events, talk to people in the community, listen to normal, everyday working people in the district, not just, Beacon Hill insiders after a career. I'm not going to vote for a career lobbyist, I guess, is what I'm saying. And I don't know who in the race is and who isn't, but I think that, when I'm looking at who to vote for, I'm trying to make sure it's someone who represents, me and my neighbors and is active with me and my neighbors. When I go to an event and I see 2 of 3 candidates consistently, you go to an event, there's 2 of the 3. I see Harini and I see someone else. I see and someone else. Okay, 2 of 3, 2 of 3, 2 of 3. At some point I start going, how come I never see this third candidate who everyone is saying is a shoo-in? I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right.
You want to read this purple state from AI.
A purple state is a U.S. state where the populations of Democratic and Republican voters are nearly evenly divided because neither party has a guaranteed majority. These states are highly competitive in elections.
Yeah, that's true, because there's a lot of independents around, right? Big numbers. But in this state, I haven't seen it in my lifetime, but I have seen Republican governors win. And I think Mike Minow is going to beat her, because I don't think she should have said anything about borrowing money out of the pension fund. And I'm a low pension.
Yeah,
I'm only a 20-year pension.
I'm 100% feeling the same vibe as
my
you,
pension.
Bobby.
Good.
The other thing is that we're not talking about is she endorsed this guy up in Maine that has this horrendous background. I really don't believe...
he's fine. He's mostly fine.
I don't believe people change who they are overnight. I'm sorry. I personally believe there's 2 types of humans. You got your givers and takers. And if you study your person, your candidate, you're going to determine what type of person they are by their past history. Please study history, and you will not repeat it.
I got to tell you, the most honest commencement speech I ever went to is my wife's when she got her undergraduate at UMaine, and Susan Collins was the commencement speaker. So I'll say nothing other than what an honest commencement speech, because at one point she hits this, which should be the climax of the speech, right? We're really going to send home this empowering message to our graduates. We've all heard a commencement speech, right? And she goes, those of you sitting in front of me today, many of you have friends. You've told yourself you're never going to sell out. Your friends tell you don't sell out. Be true to who you are. I'm here today to tell you it's okay to sell out. That's what she said. That was the commencement speech. Sell out and make money. That was...
But she hasn't been beaten in a long
No,
time.
she's been there a long time.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. You could hear the pause in the audience where everyone kind of just went, did she really just say that? She did.
But that's capitalism at its true fashion.
Don't sell out.
It's capitalism at its true fashion.
Oh, boy.
When he said something about state rep, how he would vote looking for someone that comes to the neighborhoods and talk, right away, you almost changed my mind on who I'm going to vote for. That's how confused I am in the race. They're both really good candidates. They are. And that's going to be a great race. But I want to jump to Joe Espinola one last time. I think Joe definitely is working harder than anybody I've ever seen for that seat. He's a guy that's been at everything, and you never know about independence, and the way the voting is across the country right now, you don't know. Maybe, I always would believe an independent cannot win. That's how, I said that to Karen Casella. I helped her in her first election, she lost. Why? Independent. Came back, excuse me, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's hard, it's especially hard when there's 3 on the ballot, not 2. An independent, a head-to-head race with a Democrat independent, Republican independent, whatever, is an uphill battle for an independent. An independent on the ballot with a Democrat on the ticket and a Republican on the ticket, and that's the independent, that's not a hill. That's not uphill. That's up mountain, up cliff.
And when we talked about my district, why I can't vote for yet, I don't know who I'm going to vote for. I want to talk to a few people, but I don't know them that well. But John Drinkwater, to me, why didn't you run for that seat, state senator, instead of a state rep? That's just me thinking. That's my opinion. But I know he's going to be tough to beat. That's the race.
I'll answer that question.
Go ahead.
The reason he didn't run, he supported the candidate that was running for that seat, and as part of that team.
That could be true. That could be true.
So
But then
there's a pecking order too.
Oh, no doubt.
You know.
Listen, you live in Lowell, right? Yeah. Nice, you're paying your taxes. He lives in Lowell, paying taxes. Do you think we had I don't know, I'm not going to use the word fair election, okay? But when I see Eric Gitcher getting beat by Vesna Noon, there's your Democratic City Committee. They got a ton of power. I think they're going to like you.
Wait.
They went back and forth. No. They went back and forth.
City is not very powerful.
They went back and forth. No,
don't fool yourself.
I've been to their meetings. They're so confused right now.
Vesna consistently does well. Eric consistently does well. I don't think the trend is Eric and Vesna are at the top of the ticket, and then everybody else. And they've gone back and forth 2 elections now, which I think is more indicative of the other power block in the city slipping than it is anyone else's power growing. Good morning. Unfortunately, when Mr. Espinola ran for rep, he has the label of going against the machine at Beacon Hill. That was his downfall.
Yeah, no, I only like Joe.
Yeah, but let me answer that. Okay, how can that be the downfall when you got Diana DeZaglio, who's doing the exact thing, and she's getting approval by 72% of the population in Massachusetts, and people are demanding, trying to convince her to run for governor. So there's something there. I'm not sure what it is, but there's something there. People are tired of having representation by people at Beacon Hill that's not representing them. We got more ballot questions than we got representation down in Boston. What's the problem there?
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I look at Lowell almost 100% of the time. And when I said Lowell Democratic City Committee, and you said they're not that powerful.
They're pretty powerful.
Pardon me?
They're pretty powerful.
You ain't kidding. They got a lot of clout, let me put it that way. So, I think that's why Eric got beat. Because anybody watching TV, watching the meetings when he was a city councilor, yeah, you wouldn't have. Listen, I'm just giving my opinion.
No, I know. I got.
Go ahead.
I think when you look at why Councilor Noon does so well, why now State Senator Howard does so well, I actually think it's part of how I managed to win my race, even though they both supported my opponent. But in Lowell, it's the ground game. In Lowell, it's the ground game. In Vesna has a phenomenal ground game. Vanna has a phenomenal ground game, both personally and with a lot of volunteers. Eric has a very good ground game himself. He does not have the volunteer network that Vesna or Vanna have. Rodney Elliott did not knock on half the doors that Vanna knocked on. And if someone wants to correct me, I'll listen. But I am pretty sure that he didn't. There was an old way. There was an old way to run a campaign in this city, and that was name rec and mailers. And name rec and mailers carried people for a very long time. Not that you didn't have to knock on doors. You always had to knock on some doors. But there has been a shift over the last 8 to 10 years, and that the door knocking by the candidate, the door knocking by volunteers close to the candidate, is doing a lot. It's doing a lot. Because, and I know just personally, I know that when you knock on someone's door and you get them to go vote, sometimes they don't know anyone else on the ballot because no one else talked to them, and they go and they throw a bullet at you. And it's like, well, oh, okay, thanks, I guess. I didn't need that. I'm in a head-to-head race. You could have voted for an at-large counselor.
Knocking doors is probably as bad as raising money.
It's
It's
hard.
terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. But you look at this state senator race, you got two Cambodians running, one Republican, one Democrat. They're going to hurt each other. They're not going to help each other. That's for sure. Because I get along with a lot of different Cambodian people. I listen to them, and they're split down the middle. Oh, I mean, there's half of them don't like each other at all. So that is going to be a factor, because what I like about Joe Espinola is, he'll kill Drake. He'll wipe Drake right out all by himself. It's because of what he's saying. I don't know if you listen to him, but every word that comes out of his mouth is the way my friends and I think,
Well, I think the guy from Lawrence makes the race less competitive. I do. I think that when you put someone in who, frankly, I just don't even think should be in the race because they live in Lawrence, or they allegedly live in Lawrence. Allegedly on the last ballot it said Lawrence, but whatever. I think that art. I think a head-to-head race is a different animal. I think in a three-way race, it's not. I think that Lowell's the only major city in the district, so the Lawrence vote's not coming because it's state senate, not Congress. I think just State Senator Howard is going to clean up re-election. Is what I think.
Well, when you look at who backs her up, where her money comes from, I agree with you. She's the one to beat. But again, things are different in this country. I don't think it's in Massachusetts yet, but
talk about money. She spent $120,000 for that last election.
If you got to spend it.
$120,000 for a local election.
State Senate elections go about $100K. Yeah.
All right. So
state rep, I think are between 20 and 30 at this point. Depends on how competitive they are. I'm sure sometimes they're more, but.
I'm trying to think of how many mayors I work for. Sean, I think it's 4. Could be 5, but I know I did at least 4. And without a doubt, Ed Kennedy was the best mayor I ever worked with, and he was a great senator. God rest his soul too. So.
On the money front, Cisco, I think it's hard to look at the amount of money and then get upset just by the amount of money. It's sometimes that you look at where money comes from, but you figure when you look at what was spent for a city council race, at-large city councilors are spending $20,000. They get $20,000 sitting in a war chest. They spend it down.
No,
you get district councilors.
Very expensive.
Some district councilors are spending $15,000. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're I did not spend that much. I didn't raise that much. But if you're spending that much in a city election, you would expect to spend more than that in a rep election. You would expect to spend even more than that in a Senate election. Right? It's only going to go up.
Yeah. And looking at Eric Gitcher, you got to look at his brother Lee. Lee's a very real popular person. Just like you picked up John McDonough, me, Jose. You're getting a lot of votes. We don't live in your district, but John does? But what can we do for you? Anybody I know that's in your district, I'm going to talk to them. That's what I do with people. Hey, have you been watching this kid? I call you a kid.
That's fine.
McDonough. Have you been watching him? Because I think city council wise, to me, you're in the top 3.
Sean's going to work on his Spanish.
I know.
I love when candidates speak Spanish. I went to a Puerto Rican pageant with Jose. Can you imagine? Two men at a pageant. And I actually was educated in the pageant. Came back inspired to see more of those because the girls did such a great job in that pageant. They made presentation maybe that's why I fell in love with the pageant, because they had presentations, science presentations that I used to enjoy as a kid. They had their boards up talking about the towns they were representing in Puerto Rico, and that I thought was really cool. on,
You sit right next to Bobby.
what was I talking
I'm
about?
confused by that text. When someone is running as an independent candidate, I believe they should be on both Democratic and Republican ballots in the primary. It confuses people, and it can help the independent candidates see areas that need to. I don't understand that.
Well,
They're not in the party. They can't be on the ballot.
California's doing that, where they call it a zoo
A
ballot,
one-party
combat something. They have some crazy name, a jungle primary,
Okay.
where everybody who's running is names in and I think that's what it should. Why should the government pay for a party election? Do they pay for the Elks election, the Kiwanis? Why do they pay for the Democratic election?
I don't know. That's strange.
Okay, we got this guy. Can't read the top.
Actually, I think all of a sudden the GOP is going to get a bunch of votes. Won't happen. Dirty media will always be in the tank for the machine. Jay. Also, the audit won't happen.
Hey, Bob, how are you doing?
I don't think that.
Shrink this one up a little bit.
You don't think the audit's gonna happen or not happen?
Speaking of independent candidates, former Mayor Dan Rourke should have run for the state Senate seat, especially given all his global exposure. They can't vote in Geneva. He handled himself excellently and was a great ambassador for Lowell. Okay.
Yeah.
It's impossible to cut through all the greasy fat and pork on Bacon Hill. It's one big pig roast. And yet, every time, Bart, I'm going to say it to you and everyone I'm sitting with, every time we start complaining about pig and fat and pork, and then out the other side of the mouth is going to start with the where's my pig and fat and pork from my state rep and how come it's not coming to me. So you can't have both.
Hey, Bobby, can you reach that microphone for Rich?
I agree with you, by the way. I don't like the pig and the fat and the pork, but at some point, you know, if I said this last week, if we're going to say the state rep's job is to go down there and get us money, I don't know where you think that money comes from. It's gross, fat, greasy pork money. So.
You know, that's another thing I like about the Republicans. I'm an independent. They're going after fraud. I can't wait to see the fraud in this state. And
You think they're gonna? You think they're gonna get the books here in this state? Good luck.
At least they're trying.
They're trying, but they just are not going to get the books.
There's a lot of fraud to be caught.
We again back to the audit, 72%, and the books are still tightly closed. You know.
And we did an audit on the school committee one time. Okay, we did an audit to get rid of Dr. Kafawi. Let's get him out of here. Well, the law office. Someone was related to the person that came in and did the audit. You got to be careful. Audits are a funny thing. I agree we should have an audit, but look at what happened on the school committee. I mean, it's at a lower level, but it happened, in my eyes.
You're talking about the school committee or the school building?
School committee that I was sitting on.
Yep.
They listened to us, a law department employee, I'll put it that way. And they said, oh, we're going to have an audit, and we got the person for you. Here you go.
I guess I'm still confused I think we talked about this last time Rich was on the show.
Yeah.
I'm still confused what exactly because the auditor can audit all of the appropriated money that goes to various projects and agencies throughout the state. That's there. That's been so. The audit of the legislature would only be looking at what the budget for, like the House's budget for the House, right? Because you can already look at all of the money that they
also the NDAs, right?
Right.
So a lot of Diana Zoglio's political career is based on these non-disclosure agreements that she had to sign when she was back in the
Right.
legislature. So I mean that's a powerful argument because it not only gets into people who want fiscal discipline, but it also attracts people who don't like the idea that there have been people in the State House maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago who had suits that could have been filed against them, and people agreed, and they settled, and they're paid money. So the amount of money that was paid to settle those old settlements, I have a feeling that that's part of the reason for the resistance to this, because there's probably people who are either retired or who've been there for quite some time, who have things that they don't want to come out. And so I'm not sure that it's a matter of just running the legislature properly.
But what are you sure of? I get a kick out of this, I'm not sure. What are you sure of?
What am I sure of?
Oh, I
Yeah,
like
you're
that.
sitting here with an
I'm
audience.
sure of Drake. I'm not sure of the legislature.
No,
So if you're not sure, so I'm saying, what are you sure of?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'll be sure. I like that. I think that actually makes a lot more sense to me in trying to think through where all the resistance is coming from and why there's not much money to find. But I think the non-disclosure agreements, I can see wanting to take a look at how much hush money was paid.
There was obviously a lot of pushback against the recent legislation that was passed, which I guess would go back 5 years, and there was a big debate on social media and Drake it between State Rep Gary and other people saying, hey, why aren't we going back more? And then the argument, actually I raised that point, then the argument was, well, in DiZoglio's proposal, she wanted to go back 5 years for her parts of her audit. So it's part of it is that it's a political issue that plays well. I mean, that's the bottom line is like, if you, I think that, I wanted to segue a little bit into Lowell recently had a cost overrun in the high school. One of the first things that was done, and I don't know if it was a city council thing, Sean, but there was proposed to do an audit to look at how the cost overruns actually happened, to look at the invoices that were paid. And part of it is that the fact that you can say that you looked into it is a political, thing that you can point to that you were fiscally responsible. But again, in that case, what you really needed to do is you probably needed to get in on the very beginnings of it and make sure that they were doing proper investigations before they went into the renovation, and they didn't realize how much it would cost. So,
Right.
So that's the question.
Yeah, well, John's not in the room here right now, but I wish he was, because he said to me, another person's coming, John Zimini from Drake It. So why don't you talk about Drake It? Just tell us. Pardon me?
Rich Cowan from
Yes.
Drake.
Rich Cowan,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Drake It.
Tell us what's terrible about Drake It right now.
Well, there's Drake It is definitely going through a debate right now. I don't think that things are terrible. It's there's a question in Drake It on whether to build a new elementary school. And there's also been questions that have been raised about the town's finances. So I started becoming involved in Drake It in 2012. And, John has been a friend. We worked on some stuff to, look into some of the finances when I first got there, when he was a member of the Board of Selectmen. Found some things on the way that they were covering their health insurance costs. And they ended up running out of money in a trust fund. And I'm talking about the town of Drake It. And they got to a point where Drake It had almost no free cash. They had about $500,000 left. And again, I'm a new kid on the block in Drake It. I just had a son born in 2010, and then I said, well, let me look and see what's going on in the town. And the first thing I found is that the money wasn't being managed well. So at that point in 2012, I got together with some other parents and did a Facebook group called Drake It Budget Watch. So our whole goal was to look at the money, look at the budgets, look where Drake It was not spending its money well. And it wasn't just a matter of Drake It, spending too much money. That's usually what you have in some of these Metro West suburbs. A lot of it was that they didn't have enough money to spend on things that would save money later. So it was a little bit of penny wise, pound foolish. So make a long story short, I decided after my son was leaving Drake It Public Schools, he went to a charter school. I decided to go on the finance committee, and at that point, I wasn't part of the schools anymore. I could be independent, and have been involved in trying to get Drake on track in terms of building up its free cash, in terms of a procurement issue over the last 6 years. So I've been looking at the money issue and writing about it on this Drake Budget Watch, which is now called Drake Civic Watch, for over 10 years.
Sean, I was just trying to help you out. I figure if I told him to tell us some terrible things about Drake would have, and text messages, I bet you we do have some when John gets back.
Yeah, no,
But,
So we had, Drake had town manager Dennis Pindak, and he had been in the position of town manager for 26 years. In Drake in 2011 approved a debt exclusion for a high school. Very popular project. We did a renovation,
come out good.
and and a lot of
Very nice.
some of the issues that we see in Lowell did occur. There were some slabs and some oil tank issues that were not discovered originally, but the committee was extremely good. I really think that Phil and Ellis Nefotistas, I believe. Do you know Ellis? No. I think that Ellis was the chair of the committee. They did a really good job keeping the cost down. They had to cut air conditioning at the end because they otherwise would have gone out of budget. There is air conditioning in the auditorium and the admin, but the classrooms are not air conditioned. But it's not the worst thing in the world because at least there is some conditioning in the building, and the building is a lot better than it used to be.
I would like to introduce Mr. Cowan here to some members of the United Teachers of Lowell who have not stopped screaming about air conditioning for the last 2 weeks. All I get is emails. I will say, just as an aside, I've yet to get a single email, and I worked in those classrooms, but I've yet to get a single email from a parent. No parent of any Lowell Public School student has reached out. No high school kid. No one who's not a member of the United Teachers of Lowell has said a thing about the air conditioning. So I do sometimes wonder if it's just it's a contract year, and so now we try and whip the teachers into a frenzy about whatever it is we can point at, and that kind of feels like what's going on here.
Especially when it was 95 degrees last week, right? So.
Right. It's like even if we had air conditioners, it's early June and the temperature spiked and we had 2 days and it was 90. I'm sorry, you're hot. It's gonna be okay. We're working. The city has a capital plan for improvements of the schools. This administration, I give credit where credit's due. The Golden administration has put a lot of money into schools and HVAC repairs. Believe it or not, you can't snap your fingers and overnight have every single HVAC repaired. I think it gets a little bit upsetting when all a particular union wants to do is yell and be angry, but they never want to come to the table and talk either to the whole city or even to individual politicians. It makes it difficult when you're trying to get anywhere. You say, okay, well, what do you want, right? What's the end goal? And that doesn't get an answer. You don't get an answer there, but you do get, we're going to send out my wife's a UTL member still. I might not be anymore, but my wife is. So here comes the Get Active email. Here they come. And then I watch them trickle in. Here they come. Civic Plus, Civic Plus, Civic Plus, Civic Plus. I wonder where they got that from.
So you're saying that the teachers are very much behind this push toward HVAC? Is that what
The
you're saying?
teachers union is very behind this push towards HVAC, but sometimes it feels like they think money grows on trees.
Well, but the other thing is that some of those buildings, it's hard to do HVAC because
there's no room.
They're not well insulated to begin with. So.
Well, they're not well insulated to begin with. The schools are old. It's why there's the city received again, credit where credit's due. This administration has put money into the school buildings and into renovations. We got money through the MSBA for the accelerator. Thank you. The accelerator grant. We're putting money into the repairs, but these things don't happen overnight. And I also just wanted to again point out, and I got a couple months until I got to kick off a re-election campaign, so I can still say some controversial things. I wanted to point out that no parents, no students have said a thing about the air conditioning. I also worked in these buildings. My wife works in one of the buildings. I have friends who still work in the buildings. I don't hear from those people about the air conditioning. Who I hear from are longtime teachers connected with the UTL after a UTL Get Active in a contract year, and it's because I think that's what it is. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
You know, I talk a lot about our high school, but if you took half those students, half those families, half of them, and there's 3,200 when it's full, I think, max at the high school. Half of those families are fighting in the morning just to get their kids to school. That's how bad it is. A lot of absentee stuff. They're not talking about that enough.
Sean, you don't like air conditioning?
It's not that I don't like air conditioning. I think we're doing a lot. I don't like that the UTL's only kind of one-trick pony show has just been to scream and yell about things, and anytime you try and sit down, anyone tries to sit down and actually have a conversation with these people about what do you want, what'll make it better, and what's the give and take in a negotiation, they have no interest in that. They just want to scream and yell. And I don't think that's useful. I don't think it's useful to Lowell public school students. I don't think it's useful to the teachers that they say they represent. I don't think it's useful to the city of Lowell. I think it's a real problem, but let's work towards a solution, right? And I think we're working towards a solution, but all they do is yell.
With the UTL, I would bark back with them, why are you promoting children that can't read? That's what you're barking. Their only job is to teach the kids. And, if the cops stop arresting people, you have every right to ask the cops, why aren't you arresting? The firemen, the same thing. Why aren't you putting the fires out? Why does nobody have the courage to ask the UTL, why are you promoting children who can't read?
But look, so I went out on a limb, and now I'm annoyed, and this is why I'm saying this. I'm annoyed.
You need your endorsement. I agree.
But I go out on the limb because they are adamant that they don't want this, and I didn't want it either. They were upset about the joint facilities thing and the lack of negotiation there, and they're going to have the custodians. But I agree with them, and I did agree with them. And I also shared the suspicion about privatization of custodians and how bad that would be and whatever. I go out, I say that. Don't do that. Let's not do it. It's bad. No good. I get probably 2.5 weeks worth of people throwing stuff at me because how could he say that? He teaches at the high school. At the time I still taught at the high school. How could he go up and say that? I taught at Lowell High School.
What?
Substantially separate special ed.
Okay.
He can't say that, but whatever. I could. I was fine. But they were opposed. Where's the solution? They still don't. They're not. I went up and threw the block for you, right? Because you're saying you're going to go to a negotiating table. You don't go to a negotiating table. And now you want to yell about AC.
If the custodians are not doing their work, you take pictures, you take it to their union. But no. Show me the trash. What are the custodians supposed to do? Supposed to keep my guess is keep the building clean. When you screw a guy, you privatize custodians, you're screwing a little guy out of a pension.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But so then I say to UTL leadership, I say, so what I would recommend is you guys should really go to the city council budget hearings because that's who signs your checks, right? That's where your money's coming from. So if you're upset with the capital plan, if you're upset with the school appropriation, if you don't like net school spending, whatever it is, you got to come to the city council budget hearings. You got to speak on it publicly. Did anyone show up? No, they didn't show up. But a week later, the emails start with, where's my air conditioner? Well, you had the time. You had the time to talk about it. You chose not to.
Why do I have to go to your meeting? Why can't I just send you an email?
You can. I'm talking about if you are a dues-paying member, as my wife is, as I was. If you're a dues-paying member of a labor union, and you're paying like $80-something a paycheck to these guys to represent you. They can't go to a meeting.
Why do you have to go to why can't I just email them?
You can. I'm saying they can too. They can email all they want.
Why can't a member just send an email?
That's all they do. That's what the UTL does. So you saw the difference.
But Sean, what effectiveness is? I go to the meeting and I rant and rave, and the board just sits there and laughs, and does as they damn well please.
I don't know that that's true.
Okay, I do.
I think the public pressure does more than a handful of emails. I think you saw it with the fire department.
I've gone to enough public meetings where they will tell you behind closed doors, don't tell us how to run our city. It's my frickin' city, buddy. It's my city too.
Correct. I guess what I'm saying is, if all you're going to do is send an email or do a survey, and this is maybe me speaking as a former member who's frustrated, If all you're ever going to do is send out emails to say, do you like that your school is 100 degrees, yes or no? And then you're going to send 100 emails to say they don't like that the school's 100 degrees. And then you go, okay, so what can we do about it and how can we work to solve an issue?
Well,
And you disappear until you come back to yell at us. I don't think
Well,
that's useful.
Who's in charge of the custodians at schools? Superintendent of schools or the city manager?
Well, technically the superintendent of schools.
Okay, so why doesn't he train these guys how to fix the air conditioners?
Because the union contracts say that they don't do HVAC.
Well, who
Do you see where I'm saying
fixes-
there's a
Who fixes the air conditioning?
we have the city has a person whose job title is Lowell High School
And who do they work
facilities
for?
director. They work for the city.
They work for the manager.
Yeah.
So the manager's not training them how to fix the units and
The
he should-
HVAC guy works for the manager, yeah.
And they should hold the manager's feet. There's only two people who run the city: superintendent of schools and the city manager.
Right.
And you put their feet to the fire, and that's it.
But what I'm saying is that the city has put a lot of money into the schools and is continuing to put money into the schools. The city is taking steps in the direction that fixes the air conditioner.
I can buy the nicest freaking front end loader in the world. That's all digitally controlled, and if I don't train you how to use it, it's going to stay parked.
But my point here, John, is we can put all the money, we can buy the nicest front end loader, right, you're right. And if we don't train it, whatever. Every time if the school department or the city goes to this particular union and you try to negotiate anything, you get and then when you say, why don't you come work with us? Why don't you take, all of those union dues that you get, right? And you're a full-time, okay, why don't you come to a meeting? Why don't you go talk to anyone? Why don't you actually engage in good faith negotiation? They disappear. When do they come back? They come back after a vote to yell about it. Well, why didn't you say something before?
Well, what you do is you invite them to a city council meeting, and that shuts them right up. You got some text to read here? No, it's up there.
Oh, sorry. Back it up. We all went to school without AC, and we survived. This soft society that's being created by schools is ridiculous. Stop babying the kids. Good grief, Jay. It's very hot in there, Jay.
Jay, that's silly.
Yeah,
Absolutely silly.
it's very hot. Speaking of audits, thank you to Councillor Mercier for her motion tonight to update the city on firefighter overtime costs monthly. I'm hoping Councillor McDonough takes it one step further and asks for a full fiscal audit of the department. Let's see the real story.
Yeah, she's been around a long time. She knows the issues to talk about. You want to get something flamed up? Talk about the fire department. That's all you have to do. And I just want to say custodians. Okay, we have some great ones, but you got roughly 100 custodians in Lowell, and more than half don't live in Lowell. That bothers me alone. That's just one thing, because we can't find custodians in this city. Of course we can. But when you need a special ed teacher, special math type teacher, you're gonna have to search outside of Lowell. It's just common sense. John actually brought that up about the custodians, not living in Lowell. He backed me up on that. More than half of them don't. That's pretty bad.
I think every Lowellian should have first shot at a city of Lowell job than somebody who lives in, I don't care, Chelmsford.
Remember what we did? We accomplished it, but I don't know if they do it. We said make sure every Lowell person gets a final.
It's an interview.
Yeah, because that's all I used to say to people if they ask me a favor. I can get you an interview. That's all I can do for you.
So Rich wants to talk about special election. So Rich, tell us what's going on with the Drake special election. I'll put it up on the screen.
Sure.
He just sent me a text.
So, I guess one of the reasons John's had me on here today is to give a little bit of information about this vote coming next week. Drake has has gotten this.
You need to tighten up on the mic, Rich.
Yep.
You need to be closer to the microphone.
Sure.
Mike.
Sure.
Drag right to the edge of the desk and lean into it.
There you go.
Please continue.
So, a couple of weeks ago, well, actually a week ago, on the 1st of June, Drake had his town meeting. The proposal for a brand new Campbell School has passed town meeting, and there will be a vote next Tuesday at in Drake at all precincts on whether to approve the debt exclusion for the school. Right now, give you a little bit of background here. Initially, there was a proposal to just work on Campbell, renovate Campbell. Then they had the feasibility study that was approved in Drake by a town meeting in 2022. And as a result of that study that took place 2023, 2024, and 2025, the decision was made not just to work on the Campbell School, but if you did a Campbell School and made it a little bit larger, then you could also get rid of or mothball the Greenmont School. So Campbell School right now has an enrollment of around 500. Greenmont School has an enrollment that's right now around 230. It's in the range of 230 to as much as 300. Back in the day, it used to be like 450, which was crazy because it had additional modulars. So, but if you combine those two schools, you'll have a school at the Campbell site with 860 students. Plus, there's a pre-K program, special education pre-K, which probably, Sean, you're familiar with those programs.
I sure am.
So the cost of the school, it's not a pretty number. It's $173 million. It's certainly a lot lower than what Lowell has paid for its high school with all of the change orders and the difficulties they had. But the MSBA has decided that Drake would get a grant of 82.3, maybe 82.5, somewhere around that, for the reimbursement. And as a result, the total cost, when you include the reimbursement plus any HVAC upgrades, it's about $90 million. Now, initially they were talking about renovating and doing an ad reno. The ad reno ran into some issues. There's asbestos in the building. There was asbestos test performed. It's now up on the full test has actually been up for over a year on the Drake Project website. And they did tests in about 83 areas of the school, and they got samples, and about 25 to 30 came back a positive for asbestos. So we're talking about, ceiling tiles, but we're also talking about roofing materials, flooring, talking about all the plumbing system throughout the building. There was asbestos used in the insulation. So they looked at the asbestos cost, without the roof. Asbestos remediation for that school came in at $2.4 million. If you include the roof, that's some of the contractors are going to require remediation to take down the old roofing materials that have asbestos. Then we're looking at additional money. It could be another $1 million or $2 million. So that kind of flipped the decision in favor of building a new school. Now, it's not just the asbestos issue. It's also structural issues with the foundation. It's issues with the building, rooms not.
Why don't we just tear the building down and have a new building?
Exactly. So that is.
So you're doing all the negatives, okay? Now, this building you're sitting in, this dilapidated 200-year-old building, has a foundation that's much stronger than they're putting under the new Heinz Tavern, okay?
Because sometimes the old school methods were good.
Guaranteed in a severe hurricane, this building will still be standing and Heinz Tavern will blow over.
And what do you have for your foundation? Do you have stone or do you have cement?
200-year-old foundation.
So it's a field stone, right?
Yeah.
Stone.
All kinds of good stuff down there. And I'll just tell you that the old buildings withstand a lot more than these new fandangled buildings. Oh, I want the new No, if you got good bones in the building, and you got to be careful who you hire. Well, what do you want the findings to be, Mr. Boss? I want to tear the building down. Okay, everything's rotted. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you, buddy. That's how inspections work. Do you believe that?
There's two different buildings. There's the Greenmont and there's the Campbell. I knew this was going to be an issue. I looked at this last night. The Greenmont building was built in 1927, and the foundation for that is fine. There's not an issue with it. Structurally, they believe that the building is sound. It could be renovated into something, for example, just like the town hall annex was
You have
renovated
60
into affordable
seconds.
housing.
We're going to break.
the Campbell Foundation has deterioration of concrete. So if you renovate that, well, it's like, do you have to, once you open up the walls and you do more testing, you're going to find more things. You're going to have a situation similar to what you had at Lowell High. So that's the fear. That's the reason why they decided to keep the high school. They're not going to tear down
prevent these
the
people
Greenwood.
from looking in the walls now?
Sorry?
You take a drill, take one of these fandangled new cameras you see that can look up the toilets you see on Facebook. Why can't you drill holes in the wall in specific spots and look for trouble now?
Yeah, they
Oh,
did.
we can't do
did,
that.
No, they did do a lot of that. It's all in. When you take a break, I can find out some of the actual borings that they did. But it's not the same thing as. It's not with Lowell. You had 3 different buildings built at 3 different times, so you ended up with whichever building was the worst. That one was going to provide you the issues.
I'll take an old building any day of the week. We'll be back, thanks.
Welcome back. Hello to TV audience. It is Tuesday, 16th of June, 2026. It's 7:02 and 15 seconds. I'm Sean McDonough. I'm on the city council for now. I did just take a few shots at my biggest endorsement, so we'll see if I'm still here in a year and a half. I got Cisco Maldonado, Bob Hoey, and Rich Cowan from Dragut. Hello. What were we talking about before?
And you got this text from last hour.
If it passes the new school, what will happen to the other schools that need renovations? They will still need to be renovated.
Okay, the plan all along was to use the accelerated repair program to address anything.
Oh,
in
and we all
existing
know what that
schools.
is.
But the good news is that the biggest, the big ticket item, the roof for the Brookside and the elementary, was already done. In 2019, there is a warrant article as part of this actually on town meeting to try to start a funds to accumulate some funds for that project because the estimates were coming in fairly large. The town manager looked at the warrant article and said, there's money in the budget for pushing this forward now if we can get the MSBA to come in. So they brought in the MSBA, they did the inspections of all 3 buildings. There's 3 elementary schools that are built in the 60s and 70s. That was the baby boomer schools, Brookside, Englesby, and Campbell. And they found that it made sense to fix the roofs on Brookside and Englesby. Both of those schools they're older schools, actually older than Campbell, but they're in better condition. So those roofs have been replaced. There's going to be some capital needs in the schools as well, just to kind of shore up the window walls and there's some HVAC work, but some of that HVAC work was paid for with federal stimulus money. So I would say that the schools are just going to be, aside from Campbell, this is going to take the schools out of the bulk of the capital plan for 5 to 10 years. They were not going to be having as many big projects in the school that the town would have to pay for, which is a good thing because the town manager is looking for $1.5 million for the police station. So if this Campbell passes, then the schools aren't going to be looking from the operating budget for $1.5 million for a roof for Campbell or $3 million or whatever it costs, and there'll actually be more money available for other departments in the operating budget if this passes for Campbell. And this is a significant debt exclusion. There were some initial numbers thrown out that it would increase the taxes on an average home by $1,000. That's not true. I just got information actually this morning from the head of the school committee. They've done an update with their bond counsel to make sure that they have the same numbers on the school website that they have on the town website. The problem has been that the two sets of numbers were not matching. And now the current amount is about $505. That's directly from the chair of the school committee on an average assessed value of the home. That's an annual increase to pay for this debt exclusion.
This text is from Joe Espinola.
Perfect example, old versus new construction. At Shaw Farm in Drake, the old building survived the storm. Newer building collapsed. You can't build them on a plywood and paper. I don't know.
Now, however, I would say, talking to Warren about that, the new building that they're putting together is going to be
that looks incredible.
Super building. That'll probably survive the apocalypse.
I like the probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
You got to say probably.
Well, special election, they've been getting the word out. Are you going to get a lot of people, you think, for that to come?
Everybody is excited about the project because it's
Really?
going to be a beautiful school, and they're excited about.
So you're looking for a yes vote.
Oh, absolutely, because
In the town that's the cheapest town out there.
The city, the whole town still has their first communion money. Everybody
John
in the
Zimley,
town.
one of my favorite people, he'd be on the show, and I said, John, why don't you use the word frugal? He says, we don't want to waste any letters and Drake it. Cheap is fewer letters.
well, there's a history of this. I mean, when Drake was jointly going along with the Tingsboro and Dunstable to build to renovate the Greater Lowell Technical School. It wasn't a huge amount of money, and the initial information that I got from some members of the board were like, well, this will never pass. Sorry, my phone is going crazy here. Sure enough, it passed with between 60, it was almost 70% of people in Drake were in favor. People in Drake do not necessarily like overrides, but they do generally support debt exclusions. So that's just the history. There was a debt exclusion for the library and police station that passed, debt exclusion for the high school, and there was finally there's a debt exclusion for the fire station number 3 and a school security upgrade that passed in 2018.
Back at the buzz up, Sean, you wanted to talk about the union.
Oh, I was going to go back. I was going to go back
something?
to the teachers' union for a minute. Yeah, this is quite a transition. No, I think I want to be clear. I guess first I want to be clear that I do think that the school buildings, there are a few school buildings that are still too hot. I just think that the work is in the pipe, and so screaming about work that's in the pipe doesn't really move it through the pipe any faster. Once you get it in slated for work, it's like, okay,
So
everyone take a deep breath. The work's on the way.
So you feel that issue's being dealt with? It's just a matter of time.
In where I was taking this outside of that is I think it's difficult, to anyone. I have every job I've ever had has been a union job. I like my unions. I support actual working people who do real work. I think the problem with a lot of unions, or maybe the concern, the funny about a lot of unions is that you have people who present themselves as working people who are paid, $240,000 a year in an admin role. They didn't get there by winning a union. They didn't even get there by winning a union election. They're hired, right? They're brought in, and they're basically.
What admin is paid that much?
Painters and allied trades.
What?
I'll show you when we're off air.
Oh my God!
I'll show you when we're off air.
I'll tell you that's not happening in Drake.
So not that I don't know what the teachers union. The teachers union. I'm talking. Both local, but also, your state chapters, your regional chapters, and to union members, to people who know someone in a union out there, your union elections matter just as much, if not sometimes more, than some of your local elections, because these are people who you're paying a big chunk of your paycheck to represent your interests. And sometimes I think we start playing, bigger state political or national we start playing political games first before we're making sure we're taking care of the interests of our members. And I'm not going to point to any specific examples. I think, it's pretty easy to go ahead and Google, and if I point one out, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. So.
Sean, I agree with you in the sense that those elections do matter, but what I've been seeing over at the police department, that there's a disengagement of the younger workers on even showing up at union meetings or getting involved, and the leadership that they have representing them is not really fighting for their interest.
Well, correct. And I guess what I'm saying is get involved. If you're in a unionized workplace, get involved with your local union. But also, I think what started to fill the gap, Cisco, and I don't know about at the police department, but I think in a number of other unions, is now instead of having kind of your political direction and your organizing direction come from within the union, come from your workers and working people who make up and pay the dues. It's people who take they're not from the industry, they don't have a background in the work, but they take a couple of seminars, and then the union leadership hires these seminar people to do admin work and political work and organize, and they get all of the work, and your membership starts capping out seemingly as shop stewards, and I think that's wrong. I think some of the best, fiercest advocates for working people that I can think of in the city, someone like Timmy Collins, right? Timmy Collins is great, steward with Local 7 iron workers, phenomenal. Those are the kinds of people, right, that you want. Like running your union, right? Yeah. And ironworkers,
the workers,
ironworkers across the board is a great union. Bricklayers, great union. But I think you start looking at some of these other unions, both in and out of the building trades, and you go, well, hold on a second. This guy in admin, this guy in leadership, he didn't even do the work. I wouldn't want, some guy who took a class to be the president, to be the president of my teachers union. I wouldn't want, in the AFT, I will say the AFT does a very good job. The political affairs, the political and government director for AFT, Brian LaPierre, longtime teacher before he got that role. Longtime teacher. He was a career educator, got on the Lynn City Council, stopped teaching when he won that election, and then, through a whole bunch of other, but career educator.
Yes.
Not all unions are being run by, especially at the staff level, they're not being run or staffed by people who are actually familiar with the work that they're doing. And so I just think that's something, both if you're in a union you want to look at, and if you're looking at someone going, oh, that's a labor guy, you want to make sure, are they actually, or do they just get
the training?
Is it yeah.
I got you.
Sean, I wouldn't worry too much about, talking about the teachers union. It's not going to hurt you in the vote, I don't believe, because out of 1,200 approximately teachers in Lowell, maybe 400 live here. So, but Belvedere, where they vote, I live in Belvedere, you got a lot of retired teachers up there. And they're just watching your performance, buddy. Believe me. That's not going to bother you
Well,
at
and
all.
this is not a knock on one day I hope to be a retired educator. Not a knock on retired educators at all. I think to Cisco's point earlier about disengagement from younger people, and again, I don't know how many younger people actually watch the show, but kids, grandkids, anyone you can tell if they're in a unionized profession, get involved with your local. The vast majority, the UTLE board is retired teachers, right? They're not all of them, but it's retired teachers, by and large. Our most active members at the UTL are retired teachers. Some current teachers, older current teachers, are active. We did get a friend of mine got on the e-board this year who's younger than me, so that's great. That's nice to see. There were a couple other younger people who didn't get in, probably because there's not a whole lot of younger people engaged with the union in voting, and so that's how it goes. That's just the way it goes. And so this is not a knock on anyone for the work they do or for whatever. It's just to say you pay for it. It's a great thing to pay for. It protects you in the workplace. Unions are phenomenal, but you gotta do more than just let them take money out of your paycheck. You actually have to be involved in the work of the union and in pushing for what you want to see, because that's the best tool you have to get it.
I was a union person, and I agree with you on almost all of this. Unions, to me, have to police themselves.
Yeah.
Number one. That's the first thing they have to do. Like in Drake, if we ever lost $80,000 worth of marijuana out of the evidence locker at the state level, let me tell you, we'd be in trouble. We'd be in real trouble. Evidence locker, did they ever fix that issue in Drake? Do you know?
Everyone got to retire. How's that for an answer? Okay?
Oh, you're a cop, you'll know.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, everyone got to retire. So here's a good example of when you don't have engagement from the next generation. So right now, management, and back to keeping on the topic on labor dispute. So looking at what I see management going after now is sick time, and seeing representation in the union by older employees. They're looking to sell their sick time, get paid off, and they're selling their sick time while the younger employees have no cash value for their sick time, and then at the same time they're knocking those younger employees for using their sick time.
I know.
Management's saying you're not coming to work, you're not a good employee because you use your sick time. But they're not gaining any value from not using the sick time, and they're using it because their family's important, and they're realizing that time off from work is healthy.
Right.
You just brought up sick time. I might have been I feel like I was one of the strongest union persons, but someone that should have been fired. Because when management is making a hostile environment, which a lot of places are like that, and you're looking over your shoulder thinking you're going to get fired for giving an extra roll of toilet paper out, let me tell you, sick time to me is a perk. They negotiated contracts and put it in a day and a quarter, a month. And at the end, you know what I had? I was at the maximum prison, took 5 sick days. Captain Blood, I can say his name, Captain Blood said to me, "Hey, old time, I know you're retiring, but I need a doctor's note for those 5 sick days." And I said to him, "I don't have any sick time." I didn't have any. Not a day. I fished almost all of my sick time.
So when you say perk, because
it's a perk.
It is.
I look at sick time as part of your salary, because guess what? When we negotiated contracts for sick days instead of money, we didn't take any money for those days. When the cities didn't have money, and we said, all right, you don't have to give us a raise this year, but you're going to give us 5 extra sick days, okay? Those days are part of your salary, and now they're trying to take that stuff away. The unions have to fight and continue fighting to make sure they don't lose their sick time.
Okay,
That's a long one. I need a bookmark. The town manager and superintendent must legally formalize how operational costs will be shared with a strict MOU. The school department must agree to absorb any unforeseen operational increase within their budget so that the town side isn't cannibalized to keep a new school running like what's happening in Lowell with the high school. Also, the town should make sure an aggressive independent project manager or clerk of works is hired to oversee everything.
So I guess you want me to respond to that one?
Wait. Private to you, comrade. Who is watching the Heinz Tavern renovation? It looks like it is being built by someone who is not a licensed contractor. A question for Mr. Cowan. Does he have a favorite restaurant and Draycote? Every time, Jay.
The thing is, if I mention one restaurant, then I'm.
I'll take that as a no. Move on.
All right,
I get a kick out of this
I'm gonna get on the
indecisiveness.
shit list.
move
of-
on,
know.
move on.
Who's your favorite wife? Well, I've been married a few times, so I don't want to really say who
Come
my
on,
favorite wife is.
Where would you go for a steak? There's a good steak restaurant out there.
You know, Sean, I hope you go back to that issue of the unions, and especially teachers' unions, okay? I remember a few years back when COVID was around, Mike Dillon spoke about some things that totally destroyed him. And now I watch in the news, everything Mike Dillon was talking about, he was right on the money. But the teachers' union, especially with Paul George is around, they voted him right out. He lost the next election.
Paul George is retired.
Yeah, no, I know, but Mike was only talking about get up off the couch type things, elevate your heart, you got a good immune system, don't worry about it, mask this, mask that.
Here's one on the text line. I also heard a rumor that the Loci has been sold, and has anyone else
All I
heard
know is the
that?
Loci is still operating. It's
Yeah, the
a tasty
Loci.
stop.
Good food.
I don't know anything about that. Anybody know that?
I saw the discussion about that. There wasn't any confirmation on any changes in it, so I don't know what's going on.
We're going to move on to the
But
announcements.
I do want to address that. You were going to rest.
We're
Well,
going to do the announcements.
Some do the
Yeah.
announcements.
Then you
Okay.
can. Then we'll bring it back to you wherever you want to address.
yeah, sure.
Okay, so John Dakota is having a party for Sakari Chow, and it's going to be tomorrow, Wednesday, Prince Spaghetti Day, June
Sean.
17th. What?
No, I said Sean, sorry.
Oh, sorry. And then June 17th, 5 to 6:30 at the Mount Pleasant Country Club. Donations start at $5 and go up to whatever you want. And a celebrity disco Cisco's going to be there. As he's looking down on his phone.
Yes.
He's getting free publicity, and he just goes like, I'm not going to pay attention to that guy. Okay.
I'll be knocking doors with Tara Hung.
Campaign kickoff party for Brady McCarron. He's running for regional school committee, and his party's going to be June 18th this week, 5:30 to 8 p.m. at the Wappin Weft. Hope to see you down there.
He's going to be tough.
And then Anthony Late, he's having a party this week, Thursday, June 18th. He's running for state rep, 17th Middlesex District, sponsored by Dan Finn and Brian Donovan. Campaign fundraiser, join us to support Anthony Lee, candidate for state rep at the Long Meadow Golf Club, 165 Avril Street in lovely Lowell, Massachusetts, Thursday, June 18th, 5 to 8 p.m. For more information, go to voteleap.com. And Michael Millicisi.
Anthony Melissi.
Okay, Anthony, thank you for the pronunciation. He's been here once. Do you think I'd remember how to say his name? God help me. Okay, he's having a party next Tuesday, not today, but next Tuesday at the Worthen Attic. That's upstairs at the Worthen. Always a good stop. He has a barcode right here. You can scan up and tell you more information about his campaign. East End's having a party at the June 27th, Saturday, June 27th. Hot dogs, burgers. The East End has great parties, so you don't have to be a member. Just scoot on over there and enjoy some nice summertime food. What else we got? Okay, these Hampton Sandcastle trip for the Senior Center. If you want to go to the Hampton Sandcastles, you need to be in touch with the Senior Center. They have a bus trip, and it's going to go down there next Tuesday. And 4th of July parade out in Chelmsford. This is their schedule. Take your fancy phone out of your pocket. Take a picture of the 3rd and the 4th. Tells you what's going on out in Chelmsford. Tewksbury, the Independence Day celebration is Friday, July 3rd. And this is what's going on there. They have 2 pages of events. I got another page coming up. And we'll talk more about this next week. And the Lowell Firefighters Club is having a motorcycle ride Saturday, July 11th. Kickstands go up at 11. And it'll be a nice ride through southern New Hampshire. And bikers are $25, passengers 15. Today is June 16th.
Tuscan cod.
Tuscan cod over this. You just got to be 60 years old. We don't care if you live in
Yum.
Timbuktu. We don't care where you live. So come on over. For $2, you can have Tuscan cod. If you don't have the $2, we'll give it to you for free. So Rich Cowan wants to tell me something. Tell the audience what you want to know.
Do you remember?
No, people had questions about, well, what happens if there's an overrun in the budget? The building committee in Drake, the permanent building committee, has been pretty good about keeping everything within budget. I think that the last 2 projects that they did, 2020, were under budget. I sent John something about that. Fire station might need a little bit of extra money for it, and but the high school, didn't need any extra money. So we haven't had an issue with what's showing right now is Brookside, which is where my son went. The original project cost was estimated, this is the amount that was put on the town meeting warrant, of $3.54 million. Actually cost $2.31 million, and that's the MSB audit that took place in 2024. And the tax, we get reimbursement for a share of that, more than 50%. So the actual cost to taxpayers for that project was $1.11 million. So people talk a lot about cost overruns. There've been headlines in the Lowell Sun. I don't think I've seen a headline in the Lowell Sun about this. So I just want to say, sometimes there's some good news, and we got lucky because some of the costs came down during the pandemic.
Rich, I know enough to be dangerous. What did the town do with the extra money?
It was a borrowing authorization, was only for the actual project cost, and then they rescinded it in 2022. So
the town just didn't borrow the money.
it didn't borrow the money, yes,
Understood.
and it didn't affect the taxes one way or another when they rescinded it because it was in the budget, but it did make more operating funds available for running the fire, schools, police, DPW.
Now, you sent me this picture too. What's this picture?
That is a mock-up of the school. That's kind of a little bit about what it's going to look like. It's a school that can have 930 people, so it's going to be a large school, comparable in the enrollment, actually larger enrollment than is currently at the high school. So you could see that it will have some south-facing exposure. They'll be able to put some solar on that slanted roof. Some of the other features, that it's not a flat site, so they can't just use a box. So you see that in the areas that are higher in elevation, it's taller. When the areas in lower elevation, they decided that they weren't going to put an extra
How many
story in.
elevators?
I have no idea.
That's a good question.
Because a building that size, you need.
More than one.
Because you need, yeah.
I can't imagine more than 2, right? I don't know. I don't know the code.
You have how many people in the building? 900.
930 with a preschool.
You're going to have 2 elevators for them.
I think one of the problems
That's completely wrong.
One of the problems that towns run into with school building is that the code doesn't reflect that it's a school. And so you go, oh, it's a building of this size, it needs 2 elevators, and you build 2 elevators, and then, like, what happens, so, like...
Well, that's like the town is letting, I don't know whether it went through or not, they were building a whole bunch of apartments out in East Draycott. Whole bunch, like hundreds and hundreds, with 4 bedrooms, 1 bathroom.
That's the Murphy's Farm you're talking about.
I don't know what the name
Yeah,
of the.
yeah,
I know
Murphy's
enough to
Farm.
be
Murphy's
dangerous. So if I were the town, I would have said, I know what the code is, but if you want a permit from us, we want 2 bathrooms
Right.
per unit, and let the guy scream, we're not going to give you a permit. But the state says this, take us to court.
Well, and I think where I was going to go on the schools was that people forget that in schools, so like what I teach, you take a school, you put a bunch of kids in it, and then in Lowell, what we do is we have some schools get all of a specific special education program, or half of a specific special education program winds up at one school, and I think it's the Bartlett gets a lot of the CSA kids. And the Bartlett school has
CSA.
it's a substantially separate program. It stands for Classroom for Students with Autism, but it's illegal. Like, you're not allowed to classify a service delivery based purely on primary disability diagnosis. But you, or LEAP, maybe they have LEAP, not CSA, which is a similar program. But so now what happens is you wind up with a bunch of kids, the high school gets them all. You wind up with a lot of kids, some of whom have mobility issues. A higher number of them have mobility issues. You wind up with a concentration there. So, like, for example, at the high school, at one point on the 5th floor of the building, we put one of the most physically intensive classrooms. And so then you get, like, 6 kids with wheelchairs. You can only fit 2 at a time in one elevator. And so now you had 2 elevators in the building, and one of them is used for 15 minutes for trips up and down for kids in wheelchairs because they didn't put a big enough elevator in for where they're going to put the kids. And that's just not reflected on a building code
And
text.
they had all those children on the top floor,
Which
right?
was insane.
Yeah.
And when that renovation to happen to the Brookside happened, construction cost was not at the level it is today.
That's very true. I'd also say that the construction cost fluctuates. There's a time when the price of oil spiked during COVID, and a year after the Brookside, construction costs soared. Then they came down a bit. So it's all going to depend on what the conditions are when the construction would actually take place, which is not this year. They would have to do the design work, just any MSB project. You get the town vote to cover the money, and once the money is covered, then you have the architects do the final design, and then after that, we're talking probably mid to late 2027. That's when you would break ground and do all the site work on the.
Now, Rich, is that school being built on a site that has a school already?
Yes. There's a
there's a lot of land there. We could put a lot of houses there.
The Campbell site is quite large.
Okay.
So there's a section down a little bit toward the Merrimack. It doesn't go all the way down, but probably, 700, 800 feet away. That's the place that they want to put the school. And it would allow them to build it without the disruptions that took place during high school renovation. High school, they had to build while the students were in part of the building. They had to wall it off, which is going to add to the expense.
Yeah.
So they considered it. But they decided not to do that.
Do you think the vote's going to go in favor of a yes vote? Is that what you believe?
I think it's going to be pretty close. I
Okay.
think it's probably going to be a 60% plus.
Is there
but
a
I can't
larger
predict.
population of folks with families? Sorry to cut you off.
No.
So I would think, if you're in there with a young family, you would vote yes.
Yes, but it doesn't always go the way you think, because there is a tradition. Some of the old timers, they want to see the infrastructure updated. It's good for not
Rich,
just for
can
your
you speak
kids.
to this
it's also-
bathroom
your property.
I want
It's good for
to
your
get
property
this off the
It's
screen.
good for your property value.
Will there be bathrooms like this in the new school in Dragut? Before Rich even talks, I sure hope so, because single stall bathrooms shouldn't be segregated by gender. The only time those signs go up is on single stall bathrooms. Single stall bathrooms are a toilet in the room. The bathroom at my house is an all-gender bathroom because there's a toilet in there. I would imagine you go anywhere, you walk in a room, you close the door, you lock it, there's a toilet. Every gender should be able to use that toilet. It's a ridiculous question.
There's probably a.
But you see, when the government builds something, they build a bathroom for 50 men, 50 women. Now, I have not enjoyed a visit to the 50-woman bathroom, but I'm assuming there's 50 stalls in there with doors. I'm assuming this.
Where are you talking about?
When the government builds a bathroom,
Yeah.
they build it for 50.
Well, so that's not how the bathrooms at the high school were built. The reason I say I sure hope so is because my biggest gripe, where my classroom was located, not this school year that I left, the year before, I was right across from a bathroom in the new school, and they gender segregated the staff bathrooms. There was a men's room and a women's room, but it was a door that locked. Okay, so it's a door. You turn your staff key, it opens, you close the door, you lock the door, there's a toilet and a sink. That's all that was in the room. But there was a men's toilet and a sink and a women's toilet and a sink. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the demographics of a school building, but if you have a toilet and a sink, the women were screwed, right? Because there were probably 23 women on my floor. and me and and another guy, and we got a toilet and a sink with a door that opened and closed, and the women have 5 minutes to try and go to the bathroom between class on passing time, right, my female colleagues, and they all got to either wait or they just use a room that's labeled men, and then they feel weird about it. But why wouldn't you? It's a toilet and a sink with a door that locks. They should just use that room and get back to work. I'm in favor of toilet, sink, door that locks.
I just want to say that the issue was brought up to change bathrooms at the high school. The school committee and superintendent weren't having it back in 2018 when it was proposed. So nothing was done. It hasn't been it hasn't even come up in Drake. Drake is not quite like Lowell, but I think any new building is going to have your couple of private bathrooms as well. I think it just makes
I think mixed use is good, but
any airport would have a bathroom,
A private stall.
a private bathroom.
But the reason you have men bathroom, honestly, is because you can put more urinals in there. And it's cheaper to get volume into a men bathroom if you have a lot of urinals, because guys can.
You fit a lot of urinals
Yeah.
on a wall. You can't fit as many stalls.
Now, how about the trough like they have at the ballpark?
Yeah, I remember that.
Hockey Town in Saugus.
I don't think they have that anymore, right?
Yeah.
I remember one.
I
Men's
think we have
bathrooms.
them at
Men's
the Lasha
bathrooms are
ballpark.
disgusting.
I think we have them at La Lasha ballpark.
My wife sometimes
I thought you
doesn't
were
believe
talking
me.
about Family Park.
My wife sometimes doesn't believe me about how bad some men's bathrooms still are. If you get an old enough building,
When
I
you
remember
walk in that door and you smell urine, you go like, oh yeah.
hockey. I think it was Hockey Town, and I'm going to get a defamation from Hockey Town in Saugus, but I think it was Hockey Town in Saugus. There might have been another one. Growing up, I played hockey growing up all the way through high school, and I remember I went to this rink in the men's room. Literally, you walk in. To the locker, it was the men's locker, whatever. You go in, there's a trough to go pee in, and there's a toilet in the middle of the room. No stall walls. It was like prison.
That's how it is.
was like prison.
Well, that's how it is in the military, my friend. Okay.
But I wasn't in the military. I was 13.
That's fun. In the military, you got one big room and you got 16 urinals, 3 feet apart.
Yeah.
Okay, and one sink.
Oh boy.
I got a photo. I got a photo I want to pull up because there's a photograph of the bathrooms at one of the schools that's actually very pertinent to this topic. So don't mind me.
Send it to John. We can keep talking about bathrooms. What a subject.
What a subject.
What a subject here.
Well, you know what? In America right now, don't be surprised if you go in a bathroom and there's one of those lady boys in there. Don't worry about it. It happens. It's not a big deal unless something physical happens to somebody.
No.
Girls are getting ripped off. There's no doubt in my mind. The bathrooms that I go in around when you're down in Boston or anywhere, it's kind of scary.
I mean,
and you are stepping in
for the
urine.
longest time, bathrooms, in my generation growing up, the girls were treated better. They were given luxuries that we didn't have as men when we went into our.
I've never been in one. I would know.
Yeah, okay. Maybe
There's a little pushback from the girls.
Hold on. The female bathrooms are not pretty either. I have no idea. I haven't been in one. I don't disagree. I've heard stories.
That's awesome.
I've heard stories. I do know. There's been a couple of times that I think it's been. Neither one's good, but one has walls.
I bet that came in from Eleanor. Is it Eleanor? One of your hosts.
Bathrooms have gotten
that text in.
I want to really commend, whatever has changed
I don't know who sent it in.
over the last like 20, 30 years. Bathrooms have gotten much nicer in new construction. Old is great on your foundation,
Well,
John.
the thing
The bathroom construction in new buildings is much better.
I get puzzlement is the faucets. They have these peekaboo faucets. You put your hands underneath, the water doesn't come out. You take your hand away, the water comes out. Put your hand underneath, the water stops.
I agree.
But to that, I say I really don't care. People use just use whatever bathroom you want. Ideally, the faucet puts water on your hands when you put your hand under. I would go in whatever bathroom has a faucet I can get my hands wet in. I'm in.
Now let me ask you. We're talking about bathrooms. Do you like these bathrooms where there's like 2 sections? There's a section with sinks. Everybody goes in there. It says bathroom, and then one side is off for the ladies and one side is off for the men. But when you come out, you can wash your hands right next to
I don't really care. I've used a whole number. I used it before I had Declan. Before my wife and I had Declan, we used to do a lot of traveling. I've used all sorts of different bathroom arrangements. As long as I know, and my wife has said the same thing, as long as you know what you're walking into when you walk in, you can go with almost any of these arrangements if you get a stall. I remember we were in, I don't even remember where we were, but we walked in and there was a men's sign and a women's sign and but we thought we were going into separate bathrooms, but it was actually one bathroom with two entrances. That was confusing. I would have preferred, and she said the same thing, I would have just rather known I was walking into a room where everybody was instead of I walk in on the left side of a room and you walk in on the right side of a room and it's the same room. Why'd we do that?
Yeah,
That's
no.
weird.
It's better than.
I just want to know when I walk into the room, what am I walking into?
Yeah, it's definitely better than the Lord Overpass where you just pull down your pants and do your thing.
I use Stadium Plaza Market Basket, and since RDT has been eliminated from Market Basket, go in that bathroom up there. It's terrible.
Will there be more public bathrooms in the city? I haven't heard anything. It's really
That's a
hard.
good question.
I wish.
John, I just sent you the Greenmont bathrooms that are right off the main auditorium.
I'll go looking for it.
How about this special election, Rich? This would be the time
I like it.
someone could ask, what's it gonna cost me, the homeowner? How much is it gonna cost me? That's probably the biggest issue to me is how much it's gonna cost the property owner because,
So I think that's a good segue into the event that's happening today.
right,
At the high school at 6:00, there's going to be a community forum and a Q&A session to answer any questions people have about not just the design, but also, as you say, the cost. So like I said, there has been a formal request for Drake's Bond Council to come up with a financing plan. That was a little bit of a political football. It was a debate back and forth how to do the financing between Finance Committee, Board of Selectmen, and School Committee. I think that the three boards are, at least the Finance Committee is going to be new. It hasn't met yet. But at least the Board of Selectmen and the School Committee, who are the elected boards, are on the same page now. And you'll see all those numbers tonight at 6.
yeah. Because I believe, go back in Lowell, we go back to George Sapasaris. That's when we put up most of the schools. You got about 29 now, 29 plus. They've been growing, I heard. For special ed, we're getting different buildings.
Yep.
But back in those days, people were for it, Nowadays, you hear so much more negativity, Yeah.
So where is this, Rich?
So that is the restroom in Greenmont currently.
Wow.
I mean, again, it's not. It's kind of crazy for that. The kids are going to be only coming up to halfway on those urinals because they're not. They're actually about 4 feet tall.
Oh boy.
And for an elementary school, that's what we have. So.
See,
That
I
is
like
Drake
these. I like these for the little kiddos. This business with a tap, it's up to the kid's nose. How the hell is he supposed to get it in?
I hope they're not trying to get a drink
They're not
there.
automated yet either.
Oh boy.
They should probably put.
They're the weird ones.
They should
if you're
put
gonna go,
strings on them. So
if
they
you're
can
gonna
pull.
go to the floor, do the trough. That's all. If you're gonna go to the floor, do the trough. What's the point of putting?
Standards have changed. Back
Yeah.
in the day, you could take a glance over, and there wouldn't be the barriers you have now. So
Yeah.
it's a different world that we live in now. People are a little bit more private than.
Well, I
Probably a
get
good thing.
that was my point about the bathrooms in general. Is bathrooms they're so private now. Who cares? Just let people be comfortable. Everyone, even in big bathrooms that aren't a door that locks, everything is stalls and latches and privacy screens, and they're designed with privacy in mind. Bathroom design has gotten much better in the last 30 years.
Senior citizens, I'm one now, finally. I'm 71, I'll be 72 shortly. We all vote.
It's true.
Most of us vote, and when you're retired, now I got a pension, but some people they don't have a pension, they're living on Social Security all by itself. And boy, I'm telling you, it's the number one issue to them. Like in Lowell anyways,
Right.
Rich, our taxes have gone up about 8%, maybe
Yeah.
a little more in the past couple of years.
No, I understand. The good news is for Drake is that even with this, the tax rate is still going to be lower in terms of on a $1,000 valuation than the tax rate in Lowell. I think we're at $9.67 now for tax rate, and the place the town manager lives right now, I think is somewhere between 15 and 17. I think Acton is at 18. So there are these communities that have high taxes, but fortunately, Drake is not one of those. You did have debt exclusions for police station and for the library. They have come off. There was a point at which we were paying $3 million a year on our taxes for debt exclusions. And there's two reasons the tax rate has come down. One is the valuations has gone up. And the second reason is that some of the debt exclusions have come off. So if those debt exclusions for police station and library and school, the school debt exclusion is down by about 60% for the high school. That was front loaded, so that originally we were paying 2.3 million. Now it's down to 1.2, I think. So now we're paying a lot less in debt exclusions, and that's accounted for part of the decline in the tax rate. I mean, people may not be aware that those debt exclusions came off, but they did. If they didn't come off, your taxes would be higher. So for long-range planning, we're still aiming with Drake to keep the taxes reasonable. But when the taxes are low, any increase is going to seem larger than if we're starting out with the tax rate of like Acton or Lexington. Right. So
that's what I think. It's the only issue that could kill it, But I think it's going to pass anyways. But I think
right.
I'd have a hard vote on that. The way I'd have to look at that, I would.
They did a good job with the shaving off some of the extra costs in the building. I know people look at it and say, well, what's this? There's this railing that they don't like. That's going to be a place where the teachers pull up. There's a teacher entrance, and above that there's a place that could be used. I guess it could be used for like teachers to have lunch or something. It's going to be up outdoors on top of one of the roofs. But then there's the place where the students will pull up, and that's just more. It's going to look like a traditional school. So I've been sharing that photograph. If you go to the Facebook page, Drake Coalition to Build Our Schools. That page has some updated photos of what the entries is going to look like, and I think when you see an architecture drawing, it looks kind of fancy, but the finishes are going to be traditional finishes on the outside when it's all said and done.
Sean, you got two texts here.
Awesome. How would the counselor, that's me, feel if he had a child in the restroom and a trans person walked in? What say you? I don't even know if anyone would notice. I wouldn't care. If the sales tax gets voted from 5 to 4%, so the income, if the state income tax gets voted from 5% to 4%, has there been a comprehensive conversation about how to make up that revenue for the towns? You're not going to make, it's two options. You're not going to make up the revenue and everything. You're going to have even more cuts, or if you think your property tax bill is bad now, it's going to get a whole lot worse.
Well, that would be an argument to advance this project, because some of the funding for MSBA, the school reimbursements, comes from the sales tax. So if we've gotten the commitment from MSBA, which we have in writing, to pay a reimbursement of $82 million, and then for some reason that does pass, then we go out three or 4 years and try to do it again if there was a no vote, we're going to end up paying probably a little more for the school and a lot more share of the cost of the school. So it's
you're sharing about what? 50,000?
You want to take the deal.
Huh? What's the number? I thought you said
173 is the cost of the school.
With 82 million in
Yeah, I need
reimbursement.
82.
And then 82.3 is the reimbursement. The part of that includes contingencies. So when they did the work to estimate the school, they included things like tariffs on steel. So if we import steel from Canada right now, there's a significant tariff that has added a couple million to the cost. So we don't know in 2020, late 27 or 28 when the steel is purchased, whether it will be purchased with those tariffs or whether those tariffs will come down. They might be, who knows, there's going to be costs that are going to go up and down.
The reimbursement, $82 million. That's pretty decent.
It is a decent reimbursement. So
I think it's
hard to look. It's hard to give that one up.
I think Drake it's doing a good job. I mean, obviously, a lot of the infrastructure, unlike Lowell, is fairly new, which is going to increase your value, your property value. So, I mean, I think you guys are going in the right direction. I like what I see out there. I see a lot of new activities, business activities that of bringing people into town. The one thing I would love to see, being a resident of Lowell, would be another bridge so you guys could get home quicker.
Just fill in the whole Merrimack. Just
Yeah,
the whole thing. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
I've been an advocate
That's a
for
progressive answer.
Joke.
I know.
You know, a big issue is always potholes, right? When the spring and the summer comes. I think Lowell, the streets I'm using, all repaved or repaired. I'm seeing a lot of positive
they're
stuff.
doing a good job.
let-
Somebody's connected with the asphalt companies.
Actually, let me touch on that, because that segues into something that another issue in Drake. The state had some leftover money from that millionaire's tax, and they put it into a additional grant award to every municipality for Chapter 90, and that Chapter 90 is what's fixing most of those potholes.
But what
But
got
Drake didn't get $303,000. They lost the money, and the reason they lost it is because we're not compliant with the MBTA Communities Act. And if you saw the meeting of the zoning bylaws review committee, you see that now there's movement. I mean, it's both liberal and conservative sides are kind of agreeing that we kind of have to go and get compliance, even if the compliance means we're not going to build a single
So,
MBTA's
Rich, you got a
unit.
golf course out
Yes.
there. Can
Oh,
you
do the
what
Marblehead move?
Yeah, do the things the other towns have done and declare that.
So we can say we're kind of being pricks.
Yeah,
I don't think we want to be
for,
pricks.
For
don't think
Oaks,
we wanna do that,
would love
so.
that. They got enough houses out there.
The places that they've chosen right now are Tennis Plaza, which is a large condo development, very nice, except some of the buildings had to be lifted, and the lifting is going on, like they're just finishing it this week, so they can put a new foundation in one of those buildings, because they had that mineral that degrades the foundation. Anyway,
Yes.
Then the other one is along the river, and I'm trying to remember the name, the Cascades. So the Cascades plus Tennis plus there may be a couple of other parcels as well, but listeners can chime in on that. But that will give us compliance, and it won't necessarily mean anything's going to be built along the zoning lines. On the other hand, we do have existing zoning in Drake. It does allow new housing to be developed. In fact, there is a new housing development going on in Beaver Brook, right in Collinsville. That is, I can't remember the name of it, but it's going to be more than 100 new units that are going to go right near where that dam is along the Beaver Brook in Drake in Collinsville.
Yeah, when you drive out to like Nashua and you look at Tingsboro on the right side, I don't know if they're all 40Bs, but boy, they built a lot of buildings. They're everywhere. Lowell, we have things going up everywhere.
Well,
they find a piece of land, boom.
Drake, 2 parking spots that touch each other.
Yeah.
Drake, it is vulnerable to that because we don't meet the 10%. When I first got into Drake, we only had 5% of units that the state considered to be affordable. Now we have 7%. If I know the building is kind of intense and scares people right now, but there isn't quite. We aren't quite going to get up to 10 right away, but you're going to see a few more of those developments go in before we actually get to the point where we can actually say no. Methuen can say no, and right now Drake can't because we're at 7. Methuen is at 10.
I got two things I'd like to get an answer from you. One would be, does Drake get any money because of how much lottery they get? Because when I hear
4.4 million.
Beautiful, because when I hear Drake sells more tickets than Lowell, I go, my God, that's a big deal.
Well, they got more money.
Coming from Nashville. A lot of New Hampshire customers.
Is it based on the amount of gambling that they do?
I don't know,
or
but
is it
you
based
said
on,
what, 4.5 million, right? And then when you mention, the last thing I'll say is, when you mention the millionaire's tax.
Yep.
A lot of money was given, more money was given to infrastructure, MBTA and things like you said, and less money was given to the schools. I think,
To Chapter 70, yeah.
yeah, by a lot of money. The schools lost out on that deal, but
They lost out, but they did get one thing that's
What's that?
important. And actually, I have commentary on the budget in Drake is that Drake is probably going to get more money from the special education circuit breaker. And what that is that the out-of-district kids that can't be educated for SPED within the district, they get sent off to these private schools, or in some cases, they get to go to a public school that has a large program. So one of the ways you control, right now the costs in Drake for that are met mostly by the state. The state has really pulled its weight on that in a way we haven't seen before. Part of that is because of the additional money provided from that millionaire's tax.
I think Lowell, because of its size and how many children, roughly 15,000 of them in our schools, I think special ed is spending less money than they should. I think it should go up. That's how many kids I think have problems. It's the biggest part of our budget in the city. It's big.
That's one of the reasons the school department was resistant to cutting its budget in Drake, because they've increased the number of special ed kids. One of the ways they can reduce the cost of that is that some of the specialized schools we could have collaborations between Drake and Lowell.
Well, and that happened the last time this was a big money drive. I mean, it's always a big money driver, but in the 90s I know there's a text. I'm going to read the text. In the 90s on the collaboratives, you had a lot of collaboratives start forming in the late 80s and 90s as municipalities started hitting budget problems, but we haven't had a big push towards more special education collaboratives really since then, and I think it's a fair point. Text. That is why you have to strategically comply with the state. You need that money.
No, I do agree with that.
When the paving on Mammoth Road in Drake happened, every car keeps going around every sewer cover. It won't last. To me, both sides are making entirely valid points. The real challenge for Drake isn't just about building a school, it's making sure Town Hall and the school department have a foolproof plan to protect both the operating budget and the taxpayers after the vote is over. It's a tough choice.
I think the voters in the last election spoke on those issues and wanted to see a little bit less infighting between the boards, and we have right now. We had new leadership picked in both of the boards after the election, and the two leaders are now cooperating.
Yeah, I got it. That's why, again, I say it's so important who we elect to represent us at the State House, who has the ability to bring back that money now more than ever. And is it the person who flips off the speaker while running, or is it the person that doesn't, I guess, right?
Well, Drake does get $2.3 million every month in state aids. It's not bad.
I read in the Sun that the Merrimack Valley is in a drought warning. How would you guys feel about a water desalination plant?
If we were on the ocean, maybe.
Yeah, we don't have the tides.
If the commenter wants to buy us a pipe so we can bring in the water from whatever.
That's usually good water.
Drake might have a Navy yard, but they have no boats.
Well, they have a history of stealing water from Lowell, but
I think
that's been fixed.
I think, and we only have 4 minutes, I think the drought conditions in the Merrimack Valley are why we need to, yet again, continue talking about and looking at and figuring out how to wrap the regulatory hand around the Markley Data Center and their colossal water use, because as they continue to grow, the amount of water they use is only going to continue to go up. My understanding is that they use evaporative cooling, which is the most water intensive. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but my understanding is that they use evaporative cooling, which means you pipe the water in, it gets hot, and it goes away.
Would that not have been looked at when they first pulled permits
10 years ago?
Yeah.
Honest to God.
See if the capacity of the water system.
But if you look, Cisco,
and
it's the most asinine thing that anyone in this city does, and it drives me up a wall every time it happens. The world changes, things change, right? Plans should change with changing material conditions in the rest of the world. And what Lowell does historically, every time we look back and we go, well, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we all voted on this and we said this is what we're going to do, and we don't pay any attention to what's changed. The Markley Data Center is growing at a faster rate now than it has, right, ever.
Yes.
When you look around the country and you see other data centers and other infrastructure investment, it's not difficult it shouldn't be difficult to see that the energy and water usage is seemingly a limitless ceiling on these places, depending on how they grow and the kinds of work they want to do. And it's not to say that right now, today, Markley is doing that. It's to say, okay, 10 years ago when we approved this, none of these kinds of use cases and energy needs were in the pipeline. Now, it's something that we as a community should think about.
What company
Markley.
is using that database? Data center.
Markley Data Center it's a co-location site owned by the Markley Group LLC. Jeff Markley is the owner.
Yeah.
They have a pretty diverse customer pool that I don't have enough time to rattle off.
You know,
Yeah, it's amazing that you would think that they would have developed some of those things in Drake rather than Lowell. However, right now, the scale of the data centers with all these AI platforms is out of control. And you really don't want one in Drake at this point.
No, and I think that's what people are nervous about in Lowell is that as this group continues to buy property and continues to expand their operations, it starts to leave the scope of what was originally approved 10 years ago, and it needs some guardrails put in
Hey, I'm
place.
sorry, we ran out of time for text today, and tomorrow City Life going to have Linda Bounds going to be the host, Lee Gitcher's coming, and Ralph Hogan's coming, so Regional School will be the chit-chat tomorrow. Time is short, boys.
We can't talk about Draker growing marijuana?
No, we got
stay on it.
That would
20
be,
seconds.
I would be thinking that's where you want to grow your marijuana. Drake it.
We're lucky to have Drake.
We have a few permits that with buildings that are doing that. In fact, in Collinsville, right
We
next
got to
to that
say
dam.
goodbye. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, John.
Goodbye, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you,
everybody.
John.
See you